Welcome to Sleep with Myth. Tonight we listen for a sound older than thunder. A slow exhale moving through roots, through bedrock, through the patient bones of mountains. It is the breath of something vast and gentle, a keeper of stillness, the dreamer who sleeps inside stone. Before there were maps, there were paths the feet could feel but not name. Those paths leaned downward, as all remembering does. They threaded forests that spoke in sap and frost, crossed fields where the wind rehearsed lullabies, and reached the quiet places where the earth lets itself be heavy. In those hollows, if you laid your ear to the ground, you could hear a subtle tide, the world turning its thoughts. People once called it a serpent, not for fear, but for courtesy. A name that could move without breaking. A body that understood the grammar of curves. They said the serpent was older than the first harvest, older than the first word for harvest, older than the first mouth that wondered what to call bread. They said it did not coil around the world. It threaded through it like kindness through a long story. Beneath hills and riverbeds, beneath cities that forgot how to kneel, beneath the ferrying of days, the serpent slept. The sleep was not absence. It was stewardship. Dreams passed through its scales and came back truer, as water comes back clean from stone. When earthquakes groaned, elders would whisper, "The sleeper is turning over." When springs appeared where none were before, they said, "The sleeper is remembering us." You live in a room with one window and a table that knows your elbows. The city above you makes bright promises and keeps some of them. Your days are good in the ordinary way. A kettle learns your name. A book remembers where you left it. But tonight there is a restlessness that doesn't belong to worry. It belongs to invitation. It arrives the way dusk arrives, by agreeing with the room. You place your palm flat on the floor. You mean it as a greeting. The wood is warm with its own patience. Under wood is stone. Under stone is the old dark with manners. You lower your ear. Something hushes on the other side of quiet. Breath, slow as continents, kind as rain that remembers where to fall. You do not speak. Speech would be a smaller instrument. You enter the long attention, the kind that turns chairs into altars without asking them to change shape. The serpent's breath comes again, a tide pulling through the spine of the world. With each exhale, your ribs accept their task. With each inhale, the floor lifts as if to meet you. A story arrives without knocking. Once there was a time before edges, when soil did not know where it stopped and sky began. The serpent learned the border so that rivers could learn the word between. It taught mountains to keep their shoulders loosened. It taught roots to spell endurance with their hands. You see it then, not with eyes but with that older grammar the body keeps behind the lungs. A vast being woven of sediment and vow, scales like overlapping dusk, eyes like caves that always remember water. Its head rests somewhere beneath your city. Its tail has not yet found where it began. It is not menace. It is measure, the way silence measures what words attempted. You whisper, because whispers are simply breath practicing intimacy. Are you there? Stone answers with a softness that surprises it. The floor warms. In the pipes, a gentle rattling decides not to be loud. Somewhere in the building, a door closes tenderly, as if taught by a parent of doors. You feel the serpent's awareness turn toward you the way a valley turns toward rain. It does not speak. Speaking would be a smaller bridge than breath. Instead, it remembers through you. Your palms tingle with the alphabet of clay. Your spine learns what pillars know. Heat travels up the bones like lantern light walking. Behind your sternum, a wide room opens, the kind of room where elders sit and do not hurry their sentences. A memory that is not yours lifts its head. You are kneeling in a field that will one day be called wheat. The ground beneath you hums the round music of seeds. When the wind moves, it does not pass over you. It passes through you, leaving the scented syllable of rain. Somewhere nearby, a dolmen keeps the hours the sky forgets. Children place trinkets inside its mouth. The serpent stirs beneath, pleased at the honesty of offerings that are not bargains. You return to your room without moving. The table looks relieved that you finally noticed how steady it has been. Your breath matches the deep cadence below. You realize that what you have always called calm was actually alignment, your small tide choosing the old tide's rhythm. The serpent turns once, and your city remembers how to be kind. In the apartment above yours, a couple pauses before speaking sharpness and decides to fold laundry first. On the street, a cyclist lifts a hand and lets a stranger cross. Somewhere, a sleepless child remembers a lullaby that doesn't exist and sleeps anyway. The world is still itself, only more itself. Stones more stony, water more willing to be water. You ask another question without words. What do you guard? The answer arrives as temperature. Warmth rising from the floor, held but not hoarded. It is the warmth of stored summers, of roots exchanging letters under snow, of hearths before houses had walls to keep their pride. The serpent guards continuity. It dreams the world intact. When we forget, it remembers. When we break, it learns our shape, so mending will not be guesswork. Your cheek rests on the wood. The grain is a slow river. In that river you see pebbles, the decisions you were sure had to be made quickly, and now they look like fossils of an animal that learned to go nowhere gracefully. Time loses its authority and remembers it is a tool. The serpent breathes again, and your grief comes forward like a student called by a gentle teacher. It brings its small torn pages. You do not fix them. You hold them over the warmth until the ink turns legible. Outside, a siren chooses a humbler route. The night adjusts its shawl. You taste iron, the old flavor of mountains in your mouth. The serpent's breath lifts, and with it an instruction that is older than instruction. Lie down. Let the floor be the elder. Let the body do the remembering first. You lie on your back. The ceiling learns to be sky. The lamp's circle of light becomes a moon rehearsing tenderness. In your ears, the blood's small river joins a deeper current. The serpent is not beneath you now. It is around you the way a song is around a listener. Your bones lengthen by forgetting tension. Your hands uncurl, surprised to discover they have been trying to hold up hours. A door opens, the kind that is made of agreement rather than wood. You step through by refusing to move. The room breathes you. You let it. The serpent's dream touches your dream the way a root touches another root. Without spectacle, with total comprehension, images gather where thoughts used to hurry. A stairwell carved inside a hill where no architect takes credit. A market at dawn where farmers lay quiet suns, peaches, onto cloth. A grandmother teaching a child how to thank bread before it is bread. A bridge built from stones that remember different rivers but agree to hold each other anyway. The serpent's eye, not one eye, but the idea of an eye, opens somewhere near your heart. Not looking out, looking in. It watches your small empire of anxieties with humor so gentle it changes the definition of humor. It asks nothing, keeps nothing. It offers only the pressure of a hand that has never failed a door. Sleep approaches as a colleague, not a cure. It lays out its tools. Hours that do not compete, shadows that swear to keep your edges from fraying. A quilt stitched from the names you have been too tired to speak kindly. You pull the quilt to your neck and feel under it the heat stored by stone. You are being kept. You are being weighed by a scale that knows how to love what it measures. Just before you cross, the serpent exhales long and low. Somewhere a subway sighs at the exact same pitch. Somewhere a glacier remembers a bird's footprint from 500 summers ago. Somewhere a mason pats the last stone and says, "Stay." These are the same event wearing 3 coats. You think you should say thank you. The thought undoes itself and becomes a breath. That is thanks enough. The serpent turns, and the city's foundations dream a little deeper to make room for your sleep. Rest now. The world is being carried from beneath. The dream did not end when you opened your eyes. It only changed its temperature. Morning light crept across your floor, carrying the memory of the serpent's breath. Slow, kind, and impossibly old. The air felt heavier, as if every particle had learned patience overnight. You rose, though part of you stayed behind, the listening part, the part that now understood silence as language. Outside your window, the city's hum folded into itself. Footsteps echoed softer, even the wind spoke in lowercase. Somewhere beneath all that motion, you felt the pulse again. You followed it. Streets led you toward the river, the same one you had crossed 100 times without ever noticing its voice. Today it was speaking, not loudly, but in that tone the soul recognizes, the sound of something remembering you. You leaned on the railing and watched the current drift by, dark and endless, mirroring the slow turn of the sky. They say rivers remember everything that has ever touched them, that every drop once held a story, and when it returns to the sea, the story joins a chorus so wide that even gods fall silent to listen. But this river, this one, seemed to remember more than stories. It remembered stone. It remembered the serpent sleeping below. A whisper rose from the water, not in words, but in feeling. A low vibration that began at your wrists and ended somewhere ancient in your chest. You closed your eyes. The city dissolved. The river's reflection folded into night. You were standing on a plain of glass. Above you, stars hung motionless, each one a memory of warmth. Beneath you, stone moved like breath, not breaking, just shifting, as if remembering its softness. In the distance, you saw a figure bending over a basin of light, cupping it in their hands. You stepped closer. The figure turned. It was not a god, nor a human. Something between, made of both patience and regret. Their voice sounded like water speaking through granite. They said, "Do you know why rivers bend?" You shook your head. Because they remember the places where they once knelt. Every curve is a bow. Every turn, a prayer that never needed words. The figure poured the basin into the ground. Light spread in roots beneath the glass plane, filling the cracks, tracing patterns that felt like veins and constellations all at once. The ground trembled. You felt the serpent stir beneath, not awakening, but shifting deeper into dream. The figure spoke again. Stone keeps the oldest memory. It does not forget the shape of the sea that left it behind. The serpent listens through the stone. And now it listens through you. You tried to speak, but language was too thin a thread. Instead, you placed your palm against the glowing surface. It was warm, alive, but patient. You understood. The serpent was not just beneath the world. It was the world's remembering. When you opened your eyes again, the river was before you, moving in its quiet arc. A heron crossed the sky, its reflection stretching long and silver. Your reflection looked different, not older, not younger, but known. The serpent's breath lingered in the water, and for a moment, you thought you saw its scales ripple beneath the surface. You whispered, "I remember," and the river whispered back, "Then we are two." The night after the river spoke, you dreamed again. Not of water, but of stone breathing. It began as a rhythm, at first, faint, like a memory of your own heartbeat echoing through mountains. Then it grew steady, resonant, patient. Each pulse carried weight, as if the earth itself were counting time not in seconds, but in eons. You found yourself standing in a cavern without walls. The air shimmered faintly, holding the scent of rain before it falls. In the distance, veins of light glowed beneath the rock, spreading in quiet patterns like nerves of the sleeping world. And somewhere beyond the reach of sight, the serpent exhaled. The breath rippled through the cavern, stirring the dust of forgotten things. Names carved into nothingness, songs sung before language. You realized the sound you heard was not sound at all. It was memory. You stepped forward, and with each step, the stone responded. A subtle vibration beneath your feet, alive, aware. You placed your hand against the wall. The stone was cool, but beneath it, something moved, slowly, deliberately. Felt like touching the pulse of the planet. Then a voice came, not from above or below, but through you. You feel the pulse because you were made from it. It was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It was every age speaking at once, the tone of creation remembering itself. You whispered, "Who are you?" "I am the breath between the worlds, the stillness before the first thought, the one who sleeps so that others may dream." You understood. This was the serpent's mind, not fully awake, yet aware of your presence like a dreamer sensing a shadow in their dream. The pulse grew stronger, filling the air like a tide. Your heartbeat began to match its rhythm. You were no longer separate from the dream. Long ago, the voice continued, "I dreamed of the world so deeply that I became it. Mountains are my bones, rivers my veins, storms my breathing. When I sleep, life moves. When I stir, worlds remember." You looked down and saw your reflection in the shifting light. Your eyes glimmered with something that was not your own. The serpent was dreaming through you. "But dreams change," it said softly, "and even stone can forget." The words echoed endlessly. The cavern trembled, not in anger but in sorrow. You saw flashes of worlds before yours, oceans of silver, skies of glass, suns that burned and folded back into themselves. Each time, the serpent slept, and each time, something new was born. Then came silence. Deep, unending silence. The glow faded, the pulse dimmed, but your own heart kept its rhythm, now forever changed. You placed your hand against your chest and felt it. A fragment of the serpent's dream, living, breathing within you. Remember, the voice whispered one last time. The pulse does not belong to me. It belongs to all who listen. When you awoke, dawn was spilling through the window. Your heart still beat with the rhythm of stone. You smiled faintly, and the world seemed to breathe with you. Sleep does not end, it folds. The next night, the air felt different. The wind outside your window moved like breath through lungs that weren't human. You lay still, eyes closed, waiting, not for sleep, but for that other world that came with it. And when it came, it was deeper than before. You fell through darkness that was not empty. The dark shimmered with shapes you could not name. Fragments of sound, old prayers, forgotten dreams. Each one brushed against you, whispering pieces of stories the world had outgrown. You reached for one, and it dissolved like mist, leaving warmth behind. Then came the pulse again, slow, steady, infinite, like the sound of the universe remembering itself. You landed gently, as though gravity had decided to rest. Around you stretched a vast ocean without water, a sea made of memory. The surface shimmered with light that came from nowhere, reflecting faces, voices, and stars that had long gone quiet. And beneath it you felt movement. The serpent, not seen, not fully, but felt. A shadow too large to belong to a single form. Its breath rose in waves that rippled across eternity. Every motion changed the sea. Every silence built a new shore. You realized the serpent was not trapped beneath the world. The world was inside its dream. You stepped forward. The sea shifted beneath your feet but did not sink you. The surface accepted you, held you as though you were a thought returning home. The sky above flickered, and you saw flashes of time, spinning backward and forward, folding into one another. You have come far, a voice murmured, from within the water. But deeper still the dream must go. You knelt. Your reflection rippled. Not your face, but another's. Eyes older than creation stared back, calm and endless. You saw stars in them, oceans, births of worlds. You realized this was the serpent looking through you, not at you. Why do you dream? You asked. Silence answered first, long and heavy, like the pause before dawn. Then came words that felt like gravity speaking, because dreaming is the only way to stay alive forever. The sea began to rise. The world beneath your feet folded again, this time pulling you inward. Light and dark twisted together until they became the same thing. Truth. You fell through it, but it didn't feel like falling. Felt like returning. The deeper you sank, the more you forgot what surface meant. Every sound, every shape, every thought melted into rhythm. You were heartbeat and breath, stone and memory, serpent and dream, all at once. And then came quiet. Not the kind that ends something, the kind that holds everything. The serpent's voice filled that quiet, softer than before. Sleep now, and remember this. The deeper you go, the closer you are to waking. The world faded into warmth. The darkness turned gentle, like silk against your mind. And before you drifted completely, you heard it once more. The pulse, slow and patient, counting not the seconds, but the centuries between dreams. Dreams are not bound by silence. They burn in ways the waking world has forgotten. When next you slept, the darkness was no longer soft. It glowed from beneath, alive with veins of molten light. The sea of memory you had known was gone. Now, you stood within the earth's heart. Stone surrounded you, but it pulsed like muscle, like thought. Each tremor whispered in language older than time. Remember, the serpent was near again. You could feel it beneath your feet, vast, coiled, dreaming. Its scales were continents. Its breath was wind through caverns. Every motion shaped the foundations of reality. Then you saw the flame, a single ember suspended in the air. It flickered faintly, yet each shimmer carried the weight of creation. You reached toward it and it didn't burn. It remembered you. "This is where all warmth begins," said a voice within the fire. "Even stone must dream of light, or it becomes hollow." You realized then that the fire was not destruction. It was memory reshaped. It was the serpent's dreaming heart, keeping the world from freezing into silence. Each pulse of flame was an echo of its breath. You felt it filling you, ancient and alive. Mountains formed and fell in an instant around you. Stars flashed like sparks across the cavern roof. You saw civilizations rise and fade like embers in a breeze. And through it all, the serpent slept, unchanging, eternal, endless. "The world fears the end of fire," the voice continued, "but fire is only the dream remembering its shape." You watched as rivers of molten gold flowed through cracks in the stone, turning darkness into quiet dawn. The light illuminated forms within the rock, fossilized gods, forgotten prayers, dreams turned to dust. Each one glimmered briefly, then vanished into the warmth. The serpent's breath grew stronger. The fire expanded, wrapping around you like sunlight through stone. You were not afraid, you belonged to it. You were it. In that moment you saw the truth of creation. Fire was not born from the world. The world was born from fire, from the serpent's first exhalation, from its longing to dream something that could outlast its sleep. "Every flame is a memory," the serpent whispered, "and every memory is a beginning." You opened your hands and watched light spill from your palms. Gentle, steady, infinite. It did not burn. It became. When you awoke, dawn had returned again. Your room was quiet, yet warmer than before. A faint scent of ash lingered in the air, not of loss, but of rebirth. You breathed it in, and the pulse returned within you. Slower now, deeper, but unending. The serpent still dreamed, and through you, the fire still burned. Dawn arrived without haste, a pale hush along the edges of stone. You woke with the memory of embers cooling in your chest and the slow, planet-deep rhythm still echoing in your pulse. The room had not changed, yet it felt steadier, as though the floor had learned a new way to keep you. You placed both hands on the ground. Warmth rose from the boards, stored summers traveling up through grain and nail, through bedrock and root, from depths that keep vows no weather can break. The serpent was there, not elsewhere, not beneath, but within the very steadiness that held you. Sleep does not end. It ripens. Last night's fire had become radiance. Last night's cavern had become a lantern. You breathed, and the warmth answered, not brighter, but nearer. You closed your eyes and the room widened. Walls remembered they once were hillside. The ceiling remembered it had been sky. In the soft unfastening, you felt the world tilt toward its own heart, as if the planet had turned to listen better. A whisper rose, not a voice but a tide of comprehension. The dream has gone as deep as it can. Now it must learn to open. Beneath continents, the serpent drew a long, unhurried breath. Mountains loosened their shoulders. Rivers paused mid-thought and resumed as if agreeing with a gentle instruction. The pulse you had carried since the cavern gathered itself, not to rise, but to become everywhere at once. Images slid into place, quiet as stones in a well. The river that remembers, the sea made of memory, the mirror that returns without judgment, the fire that is remembrance learning to glow. Each arrived like a guest who knows where the cups are kept. None competed, all completed. You saw then that the serpent's awakening would not be spectacle. No shattering, no thunder, no unmaking. The world is not a jar to be broken open. It is a vessel to be warmed. You spoke, not aloud, but with the oldest grammar, the one breath-taught bone. If you wake, will we end? The answer arrived as equilibrium. Floor to foot, heart to earth, ember to dawn. Awakening is not ending. It is belonging without forgetting. Beneath cities and orchards, beneath deserts that keep the spare music of wind, the serpent turned once more. It did not lift its head. It lifted its listening. Through stone and clay, through aquifer and ore, awareness traveled outward like heat through tea. In that warmth, structures remembered purpose over pride. Bridges remembered they were promises. Doors remembered they were invitations first, boundaries second. Your eyes opened to the ordinary, which had learned how to be holy by staying unchanged. The kettle waited. The window kept its square of early light. Outside, a passerby adjusted a coat. The motion seemed tender toward gravity. A sparrow landed on the sill with such precision that you felt architecture apologize for ever thinking itself separate from flight. You stood and the floor did not hold you up. It met you. You walked and the hallway lengthened just enough to become a corridor of welcome. On the street, the city's noise had lowered its shoulders. Tires whispered. Voices tried their sentences on softly before sending them out to do errands. Somewhere, someone decided against a cruel joke and kept only the rhythm that could have carried it. You turned toward the river. Its surface read like a page already memorized. Bends bowed in their old devotion. The water kept secrets without keeping them from you. When you leaned over the railing, the reflection that returned did not judge. It accompanied. The sleeper has not broken the world by waking. You murmured to the current. It has taught waking how to be soft. The river agreed by continuing, which is how rivers say yes. A subtle tremor moved through the city then, barely a thought in the stone. Birds lifted and resettled. Windows adjusted their brightness by a kindness you could not name. In that moment, you felt the serpent's awareness pass through the foundations like breath through a choir. Every beam and girder held a note precisely long enough, then released it, trusting air to carry the rest. The memory of the cavern returned, but differently. Not below you, around you. The lantern glow that once stayed under stone now entered the day. It ran along the edges of curbstones, like gold leaf brush thin. It climbed brick. It rested inside the shadows of stairwells without asking them to stop being shade. People did not notice which was correct. Blessings do their truest work while unnamed. A child on a scooter paused, put one foot down, and watched dust turn slowly in a shaft of light. The look on the child's face, reverence without vocabulary, was the serpent blinking. A mason wiping his hands on a cloth stepped back from a wall and nodded, not at himself, but at the stones for agreeing with one another. That nod was the serpent's breath. A woman carrying a bag of fruit shifted the bag into both arms so the oranges would touch. That small adjustment was the serpent waking gently. You felt the pulse again, now not deep and singular, but distributed, one rhythm expressed in many gestures. Your own heart synchronized and then let go of the need to keep time. It trusted the world to keep time with it. Come further, the warmth suggested, not a demand, an invitation to stand where the foundations think aloud. You walked toward the oldest trees in the park, where their roots conversed with ledge and loam. Laying your palm to bark, you entered a corridor of listening that seemed to pass through seasons without hurrying any. The serpent's awareness moved there too, not as a river underfoot but as a language at home. In that fluent silence you understood the last teaching. The serpent does not wake apart from the world. It wakes as the world when the world remembers to agree with itself. Agreement looked like this: a pause before reply, a softened jaw, water given a moment to settle after pouring, feet placed onto stairs as if stairs were elders, a city choosing steadiness over speed when speed would forget names. None of it heroic, all of it precise. You closed your eyes. In the hush, the earlier nights returned. The river that whispered, "Then we are two." The cavern that taught you to hear memory. The deep that showed falling as a form of returning. The fire that burned without consuming. Each stood around you like patient teachers who keep no ledger of presence. You bowed not to them but with them. "Wake then," you said, as softly as roots. The ground answered, not with shaking but with settling. The serpent lifted within everything. Roads remembered they were drawn on earth, not over it. Rooms remembered they were shelters, not performances. Time remembered it was for keeping, not for chasing. Your breath slipped into that larger breath and did not want to leave. A last image came, a simple one and therefore inexhaustible. A hand on a threshold, warming the wood just by resting there. That was waking. No trumpet, no sundering, only contact held long enough to teach both hand and threshold they were from the same country. You walked home slowly. Each step was a promise to the ground. In your room, the table kept its familiar steadiness. You touched it as if greeting a friend who had traveled a long way to remain exactly who they were. You lay down and did not lower yourself. Gravity and care conspired to do it well on your behalf. The city dimmed. Above, a neighbor turned a page with the respect usually given to heirlooms. Somewhere, someone forgave a debt at their kitchen sink and called it a small thing because it felt that way, which is the hallmark of great things done correctly. Beneath all of it, the serpent's long breath flowed in two directions at once. Deeper into sleep, wider into waking. You felt no need to choose between them. To live is to be the hinge. To rest is to be the whole door. The warmth in the floor rose and moved through you, a final benediction. It did not say be brave or be good or be worthy. It said only this which was enough, be held. You were, and the world held too, adjusted imperceptibly into a truer fit with itself. The serpent's awakening was not a moment. It was a practice the earth decided to keep. You will keep it as well each time you stand and remember to be heavy kindly, each time you lay your hand to wood, each time you speak after the pause in which you discover you do not need to win. Sleep if you wish, wake if you must. Either way, the deep keeps you. Thank you for listening to Sleep with Myth.